Well, great evening, beautiful people. And that's a great evening from Jed as well. He just always wants to be on the live with us. Y'all, we got to figure something out. But hey, great evening. We are so excited about our show tonight. You guys know what we do when we jump on. We share some good things that are happening that have happened to us for the week. We share what's in our cup and we get the party started because you guys know we are here for a good time, an impactful time, not a long time. So y'all go ahead and drop it. What is in your cup tonight? I will share, y'all. It is so cold right here on this Gulf Coast. It is cold and wet outside. So I have me a hot cup of tea that's actually a vitamin C lemon, right, with some honey in it. Y'all hear my old raggedy space heater. It's a habit. I have it under my feet. It keeps me warm, right? Drop in the chat a hello. Let us know where you are coming from. And again, we are so excited to have you. Hey, Nathan, I hear you. Water is up next on my list. We're so excited to have you join us tonight. You guys, we are not going to waste any time. We are not, because we have an amazing expert on with us tonight. Hey, Dr. McCullum.
Hey, Dr. Nelson, how are you?
Listen, I am doing so very well. How are you today?
Good, same. I don't have a cup, but I have um, some sparkling water. I
Wait, do
should
y'all see that he's fancy?
have.
I love it. Here we go. Let me tell the folks a little bit about you. And I will share a little bit about you as well, just from my personal experience, professional personal experience. Dr. Chase McCullum is a nationally recognized school psychologist, author, and speaker with expertise in behavior, leadership, and learning. Let me say those three again: behavior, leadership, and learning. He has an extensive experience in K-12 leadership and consultation throughout the southeastern United States. Holding a doctorate in adult education from the University of Southern Miss, credentialed as a nationally certified school psychologist, as well as a master's in educational leadership, Dr. McCullum combines a deep understanding of learning, assessment, behavior, and special education with expertise in creating programming and content for students, educators, and leaders. Currently, he serves as an assistant teaching professor of school psychology at Mississippi State University, shaping the next generation of school psychologists. Dr. McCullum's hands on roles as a consultant, school psychologist, administrator, professor, and educational leader, paired with his passion for empowering professionals, have positioned him to develop practical, high impact tools, resources, and training programs through his company, Advanced Growth Education. And we are so excited to highlight him and his amazingly growing company of Advanced Growth Education tonight. His tools and resources effectively bridge theory with practice, ensuring meaningful outcomes for educators, schools, and classroom organizations. And let me tell y'all, you just heard the bio, but let me tell you from my personal professional experience working with Dr. McCullum, he is absolutely, his bio, his resume doesn't give you a glimpse to how absolutely amazing he is, how genuine he is, how his brain is just a beautiful thing that you want to sit and listen to, because again, his approach to behavior and learning is something that all of our schools need right now. And I can say that as someone who supports schools all over the United States. All right, Dr. McCullum, tell the folks something that's not on that resume. Tell the folks a little bit of something about you that they wouldn't learn just from listening at that, because we're a whole people, right? That's your
We are.
side. What is something about you that most people would not guess?
Probably that I am pretty introverted. So that seems like a lot of different things. There's a lot of moving pieces to that. But I'm one of those people who loves just kind of a quiet walk in the woods, just kind of connecting with nature and trees and all kinds of things like that. So that's really what I love creating. I love like putting positive energy into the world, and I think that kind of comes from that connection with nature and just being present. So
I love it. Well, we are just absolutely honored to have you here with us tonight. You guys know what to do to help us spread all this good energy and this good information that you're going to get tonight. Help us tonight by making sure that you're liking, following, and sharing this page. As a matter of fact, right now, make sure that you like and share the video so as many people as possible can hear the amazing gems that we are going to drop tonight. Remember, we are ready to make boss moves. Go ahead and drop that in the chat, even if you're listening to it on record or back later. Drop, I'm making boss moves. And you guys know boss moves stands for being bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. All right, Dr. McCullum, here we go. We're going to jump right in. Talk to us about what is exceptional education. And so, depending on where you are, you still hear a lot of people just straight out use special education. But what is it? What is its purpose and what is the end goal as we're talking about exceptional education, special education? What is it?
Well, really, I think about it as access. So you have students, and there's 13 categories of exceptional or special education. And those students are identified based on a variety of needs. So those can be physical, it could be related to learning, it could be medical needs, cognitive issues, those types of things. And it's really looking at access. So when we teach our curriculum, we look at standards, we present that information to the whole group, we present it a certain way, and we know that certain students have difficulties accessing that content. So special education is designed, and we have special education teachers, we have accommodations, we have tools and resources to help create access for those students. So some of that access could be Braille. Sometimes it could be behavior intervention plans. Sometimes it could be providing a specific type of reading intervention that teaches it maybe in a different way. But it's about access and making sure that kids get what they need, which goes into the realm of just equity. So it's really getting kids what they need, providing those resources, and providing instruction that's designed to allow students to really close any gaps that there may be, and connect with teachers, connect with schools, and really move forward.
Thank you so very much. I can tell you right now, most people are ready. They've learned something new. Like 13, like I think we think of SPED, and a lot of us go back to our experiences in school in special education. And so we have this one thought, this one picture, this one vision of what that is. Can you tell us, what do you think are some of the most prevailing myths that are out there, even as it relates to a parent, right? So let's say I'm a parent and I'm new to this concept of exceptional education, special education. What are some like prevailing myths that you often see in the space right now as we're talking about defining what it is?
Well, I think about, especially when I'm thinking about parents, when we work with parents, a lot of that moves into that it's a separate location. It has to be something totally different. And what special education should look like, and what it often looks like, it happens in the regular education classroom. So we're just kind of adapting certain types of materials. We're maybe teaching it a different way. And it's all about closing the gaps and providing students what they need. It's not separating students like maybe has been done in the past or what's been viewed in the past. So that IEP, your parents and teachers play an active role in designing that. So I would encourage parents, educators, when we think about what a student needs, that you play a role in that. You have a voice. And we encourage our parents, we always have, to say they're the experts on their students. So I encourage them to play a big role in that process, and that growth can be made. Often we think because a student may be a few grade levels behind and it's going to be difficult to jump, 3 or 4 grade levels. We focus on developing skills and strategies that can help students be successful and learn the way that they learn best. And the last thing is we focus on strengths, Dr. Nelson. So we assess strengths of students and we build on those strengths. That's really the goal. We see everybody has a gift. All of our kids have gifts. They have strengths. They have things that they can do better than anybody else. And our role is to assess that, find it, and help build on that so they can be successful in whatever areas they want to move into.
I absolutely love that. And I think it's so important, language that lifts. It's in it really is my favorite chapter out of the book, because I think so often, and this will be another question that we'll come into later, like I think when people hear special education, they automatically go to weakness. right?
Mm-hmm.
They automatically go to lack. They automatically go to I can't. And so I think it's critically important for those of us that are in education to communicate just what you said. It's like, how do we figure out what you are great at? How do we highlight that? How do we leverage it? Right. And I think that the more we are intentional about the communication, the words, the intentionality behind the message of what education, special education, exceptional education is, I think that people won't be like X, right? Because I think so many times it's like, nope, 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 nope. I don't want to have a conversation about it. I don't. But I think so much of that is just because it's had such a negative connotation. But it goes back to what words are we using? What
Right.
words are we using?
100%. And I think that if we think about just growth versus fixed mindset, a lot of us have that fixed mindset, or we're just kind of operating we always think about below and above the line thinking. I think we've talked about that
Yeah.
before, where when we're above the line, we're thinking about accountability, what we can do. And that below the line thinking, which is kind of how we naturally go, is that deficit thinking that
Yes.
we can't change. This is somebody else's issue or need, or this is just something that is growth can't happen. And growth can always happen. It might happen at different stages. It might look a little bit different.
Right.
But if we focus on what we can do for a lot of our kids and adults, when we're working with adults the same way,
Yes.
whether it's academic, social, emotional, behavioral, or even physical needs, we can move forward and give people hope, our students hope, and change their mindset as well.
I
If
love
our
that.
mindset changes.
Y'all drop that in the chat. Focus on what we can do. I absolutely love that. And so many people will say, so in the keynote motivational space that I operate in, and I'm just so grateful to God that He's gifted me to be able to support people through multiple lanes, all through education, but just so many lanes through education. People will say, well, hope alone is not a strategy. I won't argue with that, but can I tell you, it is one that you better have, that you better put in collaboration with some others. And so it's critically important that what you say, are we offering people hope? And I
Right.
think so often in the world, in the space of special education, like even as adults, right? We're going to get into this in a few minutes. Like even as adults who maybe have a later diagnosis in life, like we will allow that thing to kind of like, okay, wait a minute, I'm just going to sit on it.
Right.
Instead of looking at what are my strengths, how can I grow through it, I'm going to sit on it. This next question goes, so for me, right? So I am a professional educator. I am a practitioner just like you, right? 20 plus years in at this point. And my experience, my personal, professional, hard work experience dealing with exceptional education, dealing with teachers and with exceptional education, like I cannot separate social emotional learning from exceptional education. I struggle to do that, right? Because what you just said, having the wherewithedness, right? Having the emotional, like the EQ to understand that I have got to be intentional
Right.
with the way that I am interacting with this situation, with these people, like it matters, right? So talk to us about what is social emotional learning? What does it mean when people are saying, and how do you view the two as partners, right? Like they get to tango together, and it's a beautiful thing if we work it out. What are your thoughts on that? So what is social emotional learning? So many people, when they hear it, they say, oh, that's for little babies. But talk us through this. What is social emotional
Well,
learning?
I love social emotional. Actually, one of my first books actually is social emotional leadership. So it takes social emotional learning and it's really designed for adults and how we approach students, how we approach our coworkers, how we just live our lives in a place that kind of keeps us whole and healthy. But social emotional learning is really teaching skills to students. So it's teaching skills to help them become healthy, whole, really connected individuals. So there's 5 areas that we typically focus in on social emotional learning. First is self-awareness. So am I aware of how I am really feeling about a situation or how I engage with the world and other people? Am I stopping to reflect and pause and think about, where am I in this moment?
Yes.
And that connects with the next one, which you think about social awareness. So that's thinking about how do I impact other people? What's going on in the environment around me? And that's stopping to teach kids and adults, honestly, specifically. So if I enter this space and say this thing and people respond a certain way, okay, what is my impact, right? Then we look at self-management, and that's really if I understand that, or if I understand where I am, and if I'm upset or if I'm frustrated, am I able to manage how I respond in that moment? I think about reacting versus responding. There's very different types of things. So you have to teach ourselves and our students that a reaction is different than a response if you want a certain outcome.
Okay, pause right there, y'all, because there was like he's dropped a whole bunch of them, but drop that in the chat. You said a response is different than a reaction, right? A reaction is different than a response. Y'all drop that in the drop. I'm sorry, I just had to pause because that's one of those that, like, if we just sit back and think about that, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
It makes a huge, and often we kind of reinforce the idea of just reacting in the moment, or I'm going to do this. But if we think about our outcome, a reaction is immediate. It's I'm from an emotional place, but a response is very thoughtful. And you're stopping to think about okay, if I say this or if I do this, what's my outcome going to be? And that makes a big difference long term for a lot of our students, especially when we're dealing with behavior or just even how they really interact academically, emotionally, and really connect with other people.
Yeah.
There's power in the pause. Always think about it. And that's what I have to teach myself. I have to stop, think about it, and then decide how I'm going to respond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we all of the listeners, right? For all the people that are going back, we all right now can think of a situation where we saw either ourselves, right? We're going to be honest because we're gold friends and we are accountability partners. Accountability is love, right? Sometimes we pour gasoline on the fire. Like we, in situations where we could de-escalate, if we would do just what you just said, like pause, wait a minute, how is this gonna, like, we just react. Mm-hmm. And I think, people, especially now, when people go really far left. We go far left with EMD. We go far left with, like, DD, all the things, all the letters, right? That just say, oh, this is a child that just absolutely cannot control themselves. But so many times we do not pause to think, what is my response?
Right.
Aiding to them calming down is my response. Aiding to them activating agency, right? Or am I we just all finna go.
We're just all gonna go down. Yeah, we'll go down together. That's kind of where we go. And that's I think one of the biggest lessons. I worked in alternative school, probably my favorite job. And one of the things I learned during that time is, of course, I had to, be very intense, very tough. And I use this example in my training, but I won't go into all the details. But one of the things I learned that in practice. So if a student made certain choices and I had something else on my brain, or I needed to do something else in that moment, I would get very heightened and frustrated, and I would have a reaction to that, which did not make the situation better for the student. It resulted in negative outcomes, often for that suspension, those types of things. And as I reflect on it, I feel like I made choices that impacted that student's ability to be in school and learn what they needed to learn at times. And of course, you're human,
right.
But when I stop to reflect on a lot of that and think about, even when I'm giving a directive to a student, I need to, you want to kind of stand over and say, okay, we're doing this right now, but how humans work, pausing, kind of stepping away, allows that student time to reflect on it. And often if they have time to reflect on it and you were not kind of in that, almost power struggle, I was getting in power struggles.
Absolutely.
They would make a different choice.
I love that. So listen, we're diving right on in a little deeper. Okay, so it's Black History Month, right? We know there's so many amazing trailblazers, just even in the space of education and special education, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna put you on our list too, right? But the reality of the fact is, right now, in not just our state, across the United States, right? We know that there is an over-identification of Black males in exceptional education. Mm-hmm. Right, that is a fact. Many schools across the U.S. right now are in school improvement just for that alone. Right, they're tagged because they have a high population, overly in comparison to the rest of their students who are identified, right? What has been your experience with this? Like, what have you found like are some possible? And we know there are 1,000, but what are some things that you have seen that have aided in that? And then what can we do, parents, right? Educators, community, what can we do to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to set up our Black males to not be overly identified when there is not necessarily a need for that?
Well, I think that's an excellent question. There's a lot of variables to it, so it just kind of depends on the things that we're looking at. So for with different types of learning disabilities, or if we're looking at intellectual disabilities, a lot of that can be through bias in assessments. So a lot of our testing are not necessarily normed on the Black male population.
Yes.
So as evaluators or school psychs, we have to make sure that we're choosing tests that are really designed to truly assess intelligence and capability from diverse populations. So we have to look at how they're normed, how they're designed. We have to make sure that we're doing really good assessments that look at culture, look at the different components of who the classrooms that student has been in, the environments that student's been in, and really understanding, talking to the student, really understanding their perspective. And sometimes assessments don't really take that into account, or we'll have a very specific idea of what appropriate behavior is from one culture, one view, and we don't always take that into account when we're assessing to really look at, is this the students, just how that student's been raised, how that the environment they're in. When we think about communication or language or exposure, some of those assessments are, if students have only been in one location or one space, or they haven't been exposed to different types of things, those assessments are not really normed or designed to assess who that student really is. So I think a lot of those, that over-identification is based on assessment and not really understanding cultural norms, not really understanding the backgrounds of students, or really even designing how we assess really well to look at the whole child.
I love that. I love that. So one of the things, you're talking about how children are raised, culture to culture, it looks, I ask administrators all the time when I'm working with administrators in training and coaching, like, what right now, especially APs, right? What are the majority of your office referrals? What are they for right now? Guess what that always is, Dr. McCullum?
Oh, defiance, disrespect.
There you go.
Exactly, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Right. And so it's like, okay, defiance or disrespect. And so it's like, okay, let's talk about that. So what is disrespect? What is defiance? And unless we as schools, right, communities, like, we need a collective understanding of what this thing is. Otherwise, respect in one classroom is disrespect in class B. Right. Then you go to class C and we're all over the place. And then we're trying to figure out sometimes why students, or adults even, right? Because sometimes even talking to administrator A versus the administrator B, like, we have to have some commonality and understanding of defiance or anything else is on a referral, right? Because what happens is we're not clear. There's confusion. Right. And then what happens is students, they get the brunt of that, right? And not only students, but the entire system, right? Because we're sending kids home that really should be in school if we just had a clear understanding. And so one of the other things, that we do a lot of training with, especially with new teachers, is talking about, how do you build relationship? Right. How do you build this understanding? How do you get to a place where you are curious about your students? Same thing, like, we've got to learn to be curious about the people that we are supporting. We've got to figure out, like, you got to know them to lead them. Right?
100%. Well, and you have to know the complexities of students. So one of the things that we took a training on, like, multiple identities recently. So it's one of those things that really kind of changed my perspective on just kind of seeing how I am as a person and looking at students. And I think it's really important to look at we talk about whole child. That's one of the programs that we created in one of our districts. And when you're looking at a whole complete person, you're looking at all those different variables of that person. Yeah. And often we try to put people in a nice little box
Stay over
And
there.
if you put them in that box and somebody doesn't necessarily fit, we're going to see them. It's just often human nature. If you don't fit in the box that I've created, something is wrong with you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And often we create those boxes for ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I'm not, I can see myself as just this thing from this background or from this location, or my family was this, so I'm going to be this. And
Yeah.
and the world treats them the same way. So I think
Absolutely.
we have to let students know that they are complex, beautiful humans. And
Yes.
two things when I talk to administrators, I'll tell them often, you have to think about, especially with discipline, two things can be true at the same time. I can
Absolutely.
understand why you made this choice,
Yes.
but I can also understand the discipline ladder. But the
Yeah.
goal is to work on, if still that understanding, even when I'm talking to a parent about it, I can understand why you did it. I can still respect maybe why that parent said that this is a choice that I encourage my child to make.
Yes. We hear.
Um, but also respect that and take the time to work with the student and the parent. But we don't
Absolutely.
often, we act like it just has to be in this one thing when things are complicated.
I love that two truths can exist at the same time, y'all. That's another gem. Put that in your palm pilot for the week, right? It's so critically important that we understand that. And even as parents, right? As the educators, as the administrators, like we are, it goes back to what you're talking about, SEL, like we are multifaceted
Mhm.
beings. And anytime we try to X out one facet of that being, it creates a conflict somewhere.
It does.
It's somewhere, and when there is conflict right there, then you get smoke, then you get fire. So it's just critically important that like we take the time. And I think it goes back to one of the things you said earlier. Sometimes we just need to pause. There is power in the pause. Those are one of the things that also is in the book. And here we're talking, and you led almost right into this next question, which was this. What are some ways that we can all allow labels to propel us forward versus limiting us? Right. And so this is talking about, because listen, you are a psychologist, you are a school psychologist who also supports adult learning.
Mhm.
Right. So I think I have even seen times where I'm working with adult learners, right? Teachers or people in corporations, and they will openly say, well, I have this diagnosis, right? So I just absolutely, I cannot. Right.
Right.
Or think about how often in school settings we'll say, "Oh well, she's EMD. Just let her tear the club up." Right? Like, what are some things that we can do to start checking our own biases? Because honestly, it boils back down to one of those. To some of that is that right? How can we start working with ourselves and with others to not let these labels limit us, but give us the perspective of this is how I can better support people, or your
Right.
word that we started out with, I can better help them to access what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think it goes back to what we just said. It's understanding that we're all
Okay.
complex.
Yeah.
So if I see that, we all have strengths, we all have areas of growth. So even when I'm coaching or consulting, those are things that we talk about. That's why when we think about just a really healthy conversation or dialogue, we learn from each other.
Yes.
So one
Yes.
of the things that I try to encourage is to look at those strengths, look at those areas of growth, and recognize that it's okay for me to operate sometimes below the line. It's okay for me to be frustrated. It's
Yes.
okay for me to be upset. It's okay for me to have ADHD and be in different, because sometimes that's a strength for me.
Yes.
I can build on that. Now,
Yes.
sometimes it's an area that I need to grow in, but I think recognizing that, and that goes back to what we said about self-awareness.
Yes.
So if I'm aware that I have strengths, I have areas that I can grow in, but I can learn and think of them as potential areas for learning, I think we can see ourselves very differently. But if we just try to see ourselves in that one box and this is a weakness, I can't change, I can't grow. And same thing with students, that's that growth mindset
Growth
piece.
mindset. Absolutely.
So if I think about that, there's multiple pieces of me, there's multiple pieces of my child, of my students, and I have to make sure that I'm not just in that deficit thinking mindset. I can reframe that to say, okay, that's that growth mindset piece. It might be a weakness now or an area of growth, but I can learn and develop skills to improve in that area. I
I
might have some reading difficulties, but There's my brain works. There's complexity there. If I'm a singer, I can use my ability to sing and my musical talents to help me learn this material. So
Yeah.
it's reframing. A lot of it's reframing how we think about ourselves, whether it's emotional needs, learning needs, whether it's social difficulties that we might have. We're not static creatures, and we can learn. And it's all about knowing what learning is. That's a big discussion. I know we're not talking about that now,
Yeah.
but that's a big discussion, is understanding what learning actually is.
Mm.
We focus on teaching a lot, and that's a big question that I talk to when I go train, especially with students from exceptional education, special education. We
Mm.
talk about the difference between learning and teaching, and what does it mean to learn. And
Yes,
that's, most people say they don't talk about that a lot.
it's true. And we make them be the same. We make we for years. I mean, think about it: teaching and learning, teaching and learning, teaching and learning.
Mhm.
And it's this assumption often, right, that if I've taught it, that learning occurred. But
Right.
this is not the case, right?
Not
We
the
are
case.
real practitioners with real results. Like that is not, absolutely not the case. So we're gonna have to bring you back just to talk about learning, okay?
Oh,
Because
I love talking. That's my favorite thing to talk about now, because we never talk about it, and
that's true.
it's core to what we do,
Yes.
but it's not a part of the conversation.
Well, we're looping it in. So y'all get ready. He's coming back for part two. What are the last thing you want to say to people as it relates to, exceptional learning, right? And social emotional learning. What are your tips to the people tonight as they go out possibly into schools tomorrow, or they possibly have a child in the back room who has a labeling, or they themselves, right, have even a later in life label, or have been diagnosed? What are your going away thoughts for them, words of encouragement for them tonight as they walk into their new week?
Well, probably I would think about one of my the books on special education or exceptional education. It's called The Science of Special Education,
And
and the
I'm
title
dropping
of
it
that.
in, dropping it in right now so
Oh,
they can
perfect,
grab.
perfect. And the title of that is because there is a science to it. Often we think about the work as not um, as we're just kind of getting through the moment or moving this or just catching that student up. But even the way that you ask questions is a science. The way that you provide feedback to a student, providing explicit instruction to yourself, modeling how to behave a certain way. There's a science to that. And if we think of it, and I tell teachers all the time and parents, if we think of the work that we do as their strategies, we're teaching skills to students.
Yes, yes,
Always frame everything that we do as teaching a skill
yeah,
and growing the skill in that particular student, and then it'll reframe how we think about learning and the work that we do. So if you're struggling with with reading, I can teach you skills to identify. That's why we use graphic organizers. That's a skill. Or if I use when I think about behavior, you teach behavior very strategically.
mm-hmm.
So if I need to teach you social skills, I need to expose you to it. I need to practice that with you. I need to help you generalize that. But we often don't see it like that. So think about what your students need.
Yes,
Think about the skills that they need to learn. Frame it as that, and then think about the steps. I always think about 5 steps. Well, whenever I'm teaching adults or students, how do I break this down into something that I can? What are the steps of teaching this skill? How do I monitor it? And then how do I know if that skill is going to work for that student? So whether it's developing IEPs, whether it's developing behavior intervention plans, or even a plan for yourself to change a habit. I love talking about habits because it's kind of the same thing. We're learning something. So think about them as skills, reframe it, and then focus on that learning piece. And then you'll have a lot of growth for your students, because we make it so big and broad and impossible
yes,
that sometimes we can bring it down and think about, what do I need to do to get that student to move from one place to another. Same thing with myself. If I need to learn self-control, I can't do it all, but what can I learn today?
yeah.
How do I practice the pause and reinforce myself for doing that? And then I can move forward with it.
Dr. McCullum, you have been absolutely as amazing, and we knew you would be, right? I was so excited. And again, we're gonna get you to come back. Just y'all, we're gonna come back and we are just talking learning. Tell the people how can they follow you on social media. Also, y'all, while he's doing that, you already know this is class. You got your exit ticket. What's your one takeaway from tonight? As
Oh, I
Dr.
love
McCullum
it.
is sharing with us how to follow him on social media and how to get in contact with him, and all about what he does now. Make sure that you are dropping in the chat. What's your one takeaway from tonight? All right, Dr.
I
McCullum.
love the exit ticket. It's all about learning. So you can follow me at, you can look up just Chase McCullum on Facebook or on Instagram, and just check out the website. The website is advancedgrowthed.com, or you can just type in chasemccullum.com and check out all the products and resources. I have some really cool things. Like I'm trying to do some technology that really makes learning and easier and breaks it down into like kind of flip books with some nice micro learning modules. So
Yeah.
check all that out. I love posting positive energy types of things. So you'll get a lot of that every day. You got to put that out there because that changes the world and fosters that growth mindset. So yeah, I love the conversation. It went by really fast tonight. I enjoyed it.
I tell you, and I tell people every week, it's a great time, not a long time, right? An impactful time, not a long time. And speaking of an impactful time, y'all, you've emailed me, DM me, call me, text me, wanting a virtual empowerment event. And so we're so excited to bring that to kick off next month for Women's History Month. You guys know leading as a lady is not an easy thing, right? Dr. McCullum, you can attest this, right? It's not just us. Research statistics show that women are treated differently in positions of authority or leadership positions than our male counterparts, right? And so we're talking about how do we position ourselves to be impactful and not have to give up who you are as a lady, right? You can keep your femininity and still have people ready to do what it is that we need to be done to work to get the purpose done, right? So I want to challenge you guys that if you have someone who is ready even to build up their confidence, ready to apply for some new jobs, right? You need to build up your confidence. You need to work on your communication skill, your personal branding. There's the link. Make sure that you drop it, you click on it and join us. Also, listen, so much of what we talked about tonight is right here in Boss Moves, talking about social emotional learning, talking about EQ, talking about even the pause. All of these things are also right here. So make sure that if you've not grabbed your copy of Boss Moves, and y'all, they ship out every single day. I'm going to drop that link there for you as well. Make sure that you get that copy. They typically ship out within 24 to 48 hours, and you have it within 3 to 4 business days. So go ahead and make that happen for you. Y'all, you know we enjoy you so very much. Y'all tell Dr. McCullum thank you again. Dr. McCullum, I cannot say it enough. You are my own guru in the space, right? Social emotional learning and SPED, all things exceptional. So we just were honored to have you, and we look forward to having you guys again. You guys know what we do. The last thing on here, we're making boss moves this week. So go ahead and drop that in the chat. Even if you're listening to this thing later, I am making boss moves. And you guys know boss moves stands for us being what? Bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. Remember, there's only one you in the world. There's only one you. So listen, step your chest out and go do your dash, y'all. The world needs us to be hope dealers. So let's get to it, y'all. Go have a great week. Thank you guys so very much. Be boss. Be boss.